Welcome to the FNO InsurTech Podcast, a place where movers and shakers from all points within the insurance ecosystem gather and discuss all things InsurTech. We talk about how technology and innovation are affecting and driving change in the industry. Here are your hosts, Lee Boyd and Rob Beller.
Hey, podcast world, welcome to our last episode of 2023, even though you're hearing this in 2024.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. It's the new year. This is one of those time warp things. This is like time travel.
Yeah.
What do you think
We're
about
saying Happy New Year, but we don't even know what the new year holds.
No.
Right? We don't even know what all you've been through yet. We're just predicting that it's still okay to say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. That's right. That's right. We're just predicting that we'll all be around in the new year.
That's exactly right.
None of us know that to be true.
Well, you don't know what tomorrow holds. Is that right, Rob?
You do not know what tomorrow holds. So seize the day. Carpe diem, I say.
Carpe diem. Carpe diem.
That's right. That's right.
Dead Poet Society.
Great movie.
Great movie. Takes me back to my high school days. We always talked about Carpe Diem, and man, I love that movie. Standing on the desk. Oh.
Did you used to do that in high school?
Well, we talked about it, but it never actually
I can't
happened.
see you doing that. You're way too good of a boy. You were a good boy. You were always a good boy. Did your parents ever get a single phone call from a teacher or the school saying, Mr. and Mrs. Boyd, we have your son here and he's a bad boy? Did that ever happen?
No,
one time?
that never happened. That was not a thing. I was a good person.
So for those of you who don't know Lee Boyd, in the dictionary, right next to the term goody two-shoes is a picture of Lee Boyd.
Oh.
It's true. I mean, it is. I cannot say that. I had more SWATs, more detentions, more suspensions than I can even remember.
I had none of that. I was a pal at school. I was an Eagle Scout. I followed the straight and narrow.
And look what happens. See how the world just goes around and it pushes a misfit and a goody two-shoes together on the same podcast. How in the world does that happen?
Look at that. And we get along great.
What kind of crazy upside down world do we live in anyways?
What a weird world.
What a crazy world. What a weird world.
I know. Maybe I should have had a little more fun.
Speaking of weird worlds.
Yeah.
Segue. How about AI? AI is a weird thing in our world.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Everywhere you turn, you listen, AI.
In fact, I hate even talking about it. We've talked about it so much on our podcast recently that it's like, wow, we talk about AI a lot. Guess what we're talking about today?
I hope we get to talk about AI today.
Nothing but. We're talking about AI today. We have Sri Ramaswamy, the CEO and founder of Charlee.AI.
Yeah, but this isn't just AI. This is insurance-based. Charlee.AI is a trained model for insurance specific. It's going to help you find SIU quicker, litigation. It's going to help with reserves. It's going to give you insight that you didn't even know you needed, that you do need. It's a really interesting company. Been around since 2016, and she comes on today and tells us the whole story.
Yes, and Sri's a very interesting woman who came up with this idea and founded the company and has been playing and goofing around with AI for over 10 years. And so we could talk all about it, or you could just listen to what she has to say.
I think we let them. Let's let them listen.
You'll be way better off. But I just want to say one thing. I'll bet you there was one time you got in trouble. You're hiding that from us. There was one time.
There was one time I did something that was silly.
Did it involve drinking?
Absolutely not. I didn't drink until.
Did it involve smoking pot?
I've never smoked pot. Absolutely not.
Okay. So
I accidentally wrote on the carpet at school with the permanent marker, not realizing I was daydreaming, and that was the only time I kind of got in a little bit of trouble.
Okay. So there you go, folks. Just when you thought, wow, the perfect person, you all find out, no, he wrote on the carpet
There was very
Yeah,
little.
permanent marker. It's
there's a
probably
little
still there
dot.
today. Probably still there
No,
today.
the good thing is they were getting new carpet at the end of the year, so
You
I didn't
might
get in
like
that
because
much
you might
trouble.
want us to think that, Lee, but we know better.
Well, but hey, I came clean. See, I'm an honest delinquent.
Well, listen, everybody. Happy New Year, and here's our interview with Sri Ramaswamy, founder and CEO at Charlee.AI. Hey, everybody. We are here with our special guest coming to us from Pleasanton. Is that correct?
Pleasanton, San Ramon, East
San
Bay,
Ramon.
East San
Bay.
Francisco.
Silicon Valley?
Yes.
Okay. Coming to us, one of those people, a Silicon Valley person coming to us all the way from the center of technology in the United States, California. Welcome. We have with us the founder and CEO of Charlee.AI, Sri Ramaswamy. I got it out.
You got it out. Good job.
How did I do?
Perfect. You scored a goal.
Okay, there you go. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So you are Australian? Are you from Australia? You're from India? You're from where? Give us a little bit about you. Give us a minute on you. Yeah.
I mean, you're asking for a long journey there, but I'll give it to you. Okay, so I'm not an Australian. I am an Indian. I was born in India, southern part of India, and I did my undergrad in India, and I moved to Australia for my master's. That itself was a very movie-like, drama-filled, episodes that we can cover probably in a series sometime.
Okay.
And I moved to Australia for my master's in the IT. And I stayed in Australia after I finished my master's. I stayed there, worked in the banking industry, and then I got married and I moved to the United States.
Okay.
Do you make it back to India or Australia very often?
Not to Australia. I had to, my PR, what they call the permanent residency, expired. And at that time in Australia, I didn't really, get a citizenship because I wasn't sure how long I'm going to be there. I wanted to keep my Indian passport and go back to India and, be flexible. My mom was looking for, matches for me. Yeah, arranged marriage. And so I was like, okay, let's keep this flexible. I did want to go back at some point, wasn't sure. So after I moved to the United States, my Australia PR expired in some time, and then I didn't renew that, and then I didn't go back, although I felt like I did want to. And India, I keep going. My parents are still there, and my husband's side sibling is there. His dad is there, so we at least try to make a trip once a year, if possible.
You have a facility there, right? Or an office?
We do have a wholly owned subsidiary in Chennai. And yeah, I mean, the team is fairly independent. So, and we have a lead there. One of my co-founders is there.
And they support the kind of development work you guys are spearheading here?
Yes.
Sure. So enough about you. Let's talk about Charlee.AI. So why don't you start by sharing with us what Charlee.AI is and what you guys do?
I'll give you a little story before we get started.
Please. We love stories.
So my husband, so when I moved to Australia, from Australia to the US, I was working still in the banking industry, consultant, doing data analytics projects and customer related projects, involving data analytics, advanced analytics. And it so happened that I had to stop consulting and stop traveling and stay in one place. And because of that, I just got put into the insurance industry. And I started working for a carrier, a work comp carrier in San Diego. And that's really what opened up my entrepreneurship spirit again, because I saw a lot of opportunities, with data. And I'm a data person, by nature. I love data. That's that's what really got me started. And there I did couple of projects, really was happy with the results. And when I started, I never thought I would stick it out in the insurance industry for too long. But then my manager once told me, like, on my, I think it was my fourth day being there, and I told her I won't be here for more than a week. And she goes, if you love data, Shri, you'll be here for a long time. And boy, she was right. And after that, after a few years there, I got, asked to join a software company based in Boston. They were doing vertical solutions, leveraging different analytics products. I launched two solutions, architected and launched two solutions, one in the claims and one in the underwriting side. When we were getting the initial onboarding and initial few customers and the SI partners and all that for that solution, I was talking to a lot of claims managers. And what became evident to me was the unstructured data.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very critical, because it has the insights, it has a lot of hidden attributes that were not accessible. And for claims managers who are completely dealing only with risks, it is so important for them to understand the entire story if they have to make decisions that are objective and not subjective. So to me, I thought, insurance was fascinating because of that, because now you're turning a story into a financial decision,
Yeah.
and that can impact the profitability of the organization. So what can be more critical than that? If you cannot access those insights in the story, you're not going to get the chapter headlines, you're not going to get the chapter title, and probably not even the title of the book. And so to me that was fascinating. And I came back, I had a 3-year old, could not travel too much.
Yeah.
So I had to find, a balance, what they call a work life balance, which, we'll talk at the end. But what was, important to me was, can I find a way to create a common denominator by basically taking the unstructured data insights and attributes and converting them into structured data attributes. Then we can then use that to measure and build your analytics on. So that was the goal. That's really what started off the trigger. And right around the same time, I said, okay, I'm going to come back and I'm not going to travel. I'm going to start my own consulting and just trying to figure out research, build a platform, work with companies to build solutions on top. That's how it started, quite some time back, and as a consulting organization.
Can you help us understand whenever you say unstructured data, what do you mean by that?
So that's what I was going to give you the example. When I came back and what happened around that time, and Lee, I promise I'm going to get to this.
Oh,
And
okay. Good.
what happened was, my husband had never met with an accident, touch wood. and, and he went to Trader Joe's, parked his car, did the shopping, came back. And while he was, taking his car out, there's a car next to him that just came there and parked. And the person did not see that the car, I don't know if they didn't see or they did see, but when he was pulling his car, the gentleman, opened the driver, opened his door, and it kind of like left a, small scratch, what they call fender bender. And they exchanged insurance information. At that time, the gentleman, the driver said, I think we can sort this out ourselves, and we just, exchanged numbers, they exchanged insurance information. And, my husband informs our insurance company. Literally, there was just it was just a scratch on our car.
Yeah.
Nothing happened to his car. And this claim goes on. And then, what happens within a month is that this gentleman brings an attorney, complains about, medical injuries, some were quite severe. And, and then he calls. And then before, they file the claim, the gentleman talks about, making a deal. and just telling the insurance company these things. And my husband tells all these details to the insurance company. All this was written down in the story. The end result of this was that what should have been just actually claim should have been denied, but what should have been a small amount, whatever it is for the fender bender, or just for the claim to go away, turned out to be a $50,000 claim because the attorney was involved and because they claimed injuries. What was not taken is the story that my husband told them, which had a lot of facts in them. And that's what is your unstructured data. Those story points, those points in his illustration of, hey, tell me what happened, tell me how did this accident happen, and you're interviewing the person, you are going and providing your what they call as the recorded statement, that has an immense amount of value. And if you just listen to all the information in that, he gave away a lot of things, saying, the door just opened, and here is the, fender bender. No, there was no injuries at all. In fact, it was like absolutely no dent to his car at all. So nothing of that was utilized in the decision making process. Nothing was even, kept in mind. And then, I mean, they should have resolved this claim within less than a month. And when you allow for more time on these kind of claims, what ends up happening is the attorney will step in, the doctors, medical providers will step in, and the claim obviously ended up being more severe. But what happened in the process is our premiums went up.
Oh, wow.
Sure. Of course. Of course.
So that was a light bulb to me that said, hey, this unstructured data does carry a lot of weightage and does carry a lot of attributes that should become the common denominators for you to be making objective decisions on this claim. Again, remember, it's a financial decision you're making on the settlement. Settlement is a financial decision. Attached to that are reserves, and attached to that are expenses on how long you're spending on resolving the claim or adjudicating the claim. So there are, I would say, the three triangle points in that decision making are, your expenses, your reserves, and the actual indemnity. These are the three triangle financial, triangle points that, impact the profitability and are also impacted themselves by the insights in the unstructured data, which, comes from police reports to your medical reports to even, news that you have online, publicly available information, to what's in your claim files, in your claim documents, and anything that is unstructured cannot be put in one field.
And so with this, is all of this coming to light before you found Charlie AI?
Absolutely, because back then there was no insurtech as such.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this was back in 2012 when I started my research and really, started to hit on technologies or techniques of AI, called natural language processing, NLP, natural language understanding, NLU. And and big data was like huge back then. So this is all big data, because you cannot just size these things into a traditional database. And that's what makes it challenging, because you need different kind of NoSQL databases. You need a platform where I can bring in those documents, with a PDF document, or it's an API that I need to bring some data, or I need to write a connector to plug into a third party, database or third party report. So it requires different techniques. It also requires a different platform, and that's what really I started with, was building a platform that could basically take all different types and sources of files and be able to process them and bring the information. Not even what I want to do with that information, but initially it was just a platform to be able to very easily bring unstructured documents into a single, platform.
Sure, because there's so many data points, I guess, so much different information. So does your product listen to somebody's report and find things inside the report that are important to the determination of the adjudication of the claim?
Absolutely. So it's listening through the words. It's not really listening to the conversations or the voice, but when we're all to do with the text. Anything that's textual, whether it is in your claim files or your claim documents or your reports or third party files, or even the news media, we are able to bring all that into one place and be able to basically extract the information, which is mostly, I would say, all facts of loss. So for example, if you have a hurricane claim, what you're looking for is, what are the facts of loss? What were the damages? Where were the damages? Did the water get in through the roof? Did the water get in through the door? And was the garage destroyed? Were the structures destroyed? Was it wind-driven rain? Did the tree fall on the roof? And all these details are what we call as risk insights, or characteristics of the loss, or facts of loss. It doesn't really involve about who is the entity, like who are the entities. As in the fraud cases, you're looking for more the person and those kind of things. But what Charlie focuses on is these anonymized insights coming from the risk insights, or the facts of loss that we have pre-trained it on. And that's what we did once the platform was ready. And I had a couple of customers. What I did was to kind of commercially go, as a product company. So it took me some time from going, building the platform, to actually understanding how customers are going to use this,
Sure.
and then kind of building a plug and play solution on top of my platform, and taking it to the fraud. First was the fraud solution launch on top of Party platform.
Sure. I bet SIU people see the value of a product like this more quickly.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it's a regulated industry, and the only people that can actually prove insurance fraud are the Department of Insurance, NICB, and the law enforcement. The insurance companies can only provide indicators. They
Hmm.
can spot the indicators, and they can refer that claim with those suspected fraudulent indicators, and back to the Department of Insurance. And these are what are called the SIU referrals. And that's the limitation that you have, that the insurance companies themselves cannot, have a lot of regulations. I'm not saying they cannot, but they have a lot of regulations in calling out fraud. And it's very difficult to prove. It's the most difficult is in the bodily injury. How do I know
Sure.
whether
Sure.
you're lying about your PTSD or
Yeah.
not? I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you know if somebody actually feels pain or not? You just don't.
Exactly. Exactly.
You don't.
I always think about fraud, and I always look for the good in everything. But I realize that there's patterns out there that you could search for, and there's things that you don't even think about. Um, and I assume that's what you can do. So Charlie AI is, I mean, could you almost compare it to a Chat GPT, but specialized in insurance? Is, I mean, in today's terms.
I don't want to say I'll be insulted if you did compare it to ChatGPT, but I think you could. And the reasons where we compare very well, and I also give you the ones where we don't compare very well.
Yeah.
So, ChatGPT, if you look at it, it's trained on publicly available data. And what it predicts is the next set of keywords. So, for example, if I say honest claim policyholder is, it's probably going to know what the next few words are, or it's going to guess because it's been trained on publicly available data. Claims data is not publicly available data. It
Right.
belongs to the insurance company. Obviously, for training it, you need expertise. You need the years and years of decades of experience that a claims manager or claims professional, gains by resolving these cases over and over again. So you need those kind of expertise. It's not as easy as, let me just predict the next set of keywords, and whether it's publicly available or not. But it's not as easy. That's the whole GPT is, being able to predict what the next set of keywords are. What we do in Charlie is we are actually taking all of these insights, and we have created what is called the domain interpretation layer, or the claims language model. What it helps us do is, it helps us kind of semantically understand what different adjusters, how different adjusters document their claim files, because risk insights is a risk insight. My roof damage is a roof damage. The only part I need to know is, how have you documented that? Are you saying DMG for damage, or are you saying DMGE for damage? And, or are you
Wow.
writing the whole thing out? Or are you saying the roof is not damaged? And
So
those
Wow.
are
nuances that each individual might bring.
exactly.
That's
Exactly.
complicated. That sounds very
Because
complicated.
that's very complicated. And there are industry abbreviations available for these. Like,
Sure.
for example, people will write CV. CV is a claimant vehicle. CVD is a claimant vehicle driver. And some of these things are industry abbreviations. And so we kind of, through the pre-training, we already have semantic models that can understand those things. What is becomes challenging as we go, and we have to pre-train our NLP models, is to understand the context. And the context is, hey, I was injured 3 months back. Do you really understand that I'm not talking about the injury now? I am talking about my prior injury. I am talking about injury that happened 3 months ago, which was not related to the current accident or the current loss. Big difference between the two, because you are very objectively looking at the facts of laws for a particular claim and resolving that claim irrespective of what you did, who you are. And it doesn't matter even if you have criminal offenses. If you have filed an insurance claim, I have to be looking at your claim and the facts of loss associated to that claim.
So on your website, it says 55 million claims analyzed.
Yes.
Really?
More than that. That number was 2 years ago. We've been we've been doing more than that, and we've got more than 50,000 pre-trained insights. We've got injury ontologies, damages ontologies, so that cover both property damages and bodily injuries. And we also have what is called dictionaries. So it can understand when I'm saying a synonym versus an antonym versus something that is similar, semantic in nature. And also the NLP models that can sense the context very clearly, because the roof is damaged is different from there was no damage to the roof.
Yes. So the machine does that, right? I mean, the machine learns all these things in the claims.
Yes. So, based on what Lee asked me, what is the similarity? The similarity is the training that ChatGPT has received, and the same training, we have created that layer that has all these dictionaries, ontologies. So when you talk about the language model in English language model understands nouns, pronouns, adjectives, and that's how it's able to predict the next verb, given the sentence. It's able to fill in those details. The same thing Charlie does, in terms of the claims language model. It has all the ontologies, it has all the dictionaries. What it's basically telling you is, if there was a roof damage in a claim, if I'm an adjuster and I want to know, was there a roof damage? It can tell you, yes, there was a roof damage. And here is the context for it. So it can give that information, facts of loss, very clearly. And then it uses that to predict severity of the claim. It also uses that to predict litigation. It also uses that to predict whether or not there will be an attorney involved or not. So, in that sense, the prediction is similar in the sense of the language model, in how the GPT has trained English language and how we have trained for the claims language is similar. And what is different is the source of data. They went public information, public data, but we have worked with several different carriers and data, and secured and in a secured manner, and anonymize the insights and learned through that.
And so how do you work with a claim department or a carrier or a TPA? Is it a database that you read and then push back in? Is it a report that you send them? How does the actual work, how does it go?
So Charlie has a web application, and they can log into the web application and take a look at the dashboards and what we call as quick links or quick reports. These quick reports are basically, I would say, prioritized list of claims that the adjusters or the managers must look at immediately. These are open claims that have the level of risks that, through our pre-learning, we know that if these elements are present in your claim, this claim is either heading to a high severity or heading into litigation or could get an attorney involved. And because of those characteristics that we have pre-learned, we are able to very quickly go into your claims and prioritize certain claims based on those risk indicators and present that to the claims operations team so they can jump on it and say, okay, I'm going to put this. For example, you have claims that have what is called the TBI, traumatic brain injury. And, these are like, high severity claims. And if there is an attorney involved, then it's heading to litigation, things like that, and we say, here are some open claims that have exactly the same indicators. You might want to look at this and put it in your workflow immediately. So when we work with carriers or TPAs, anybody handling claims, they give us the claims data. And the first engagement is usually a 21-day free POC because we have the pre-trained insights. We are very confident that within 3 weeks, we present the both the open claims analysis predictions and the past trends on their closed claims. We give back the accuracy levels of our predictions in the 3 weeks, and they can look at the UI, they can look at the web application, and all the Charlie analysis is going to be there. They can make a decision at that point if what they see is something that they can actually use in real time, and pretty much after that, they get into production, and within like less than 2 months, they can be in production with their data flowing in continuously, whether it is coming through a batch mode or whether it is using the Charlie API.
And I mean, I think that's absolutely fascinating. I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking, once you get into a batch mode or an API, you can start working in near real time, I guess, right? Every day you show up and there's new claims to research, and it prioritizes the claims for you. Did I hear that right?
Absolutely. And then if you look at it, the API can feed back into the claims management system. So as soon as now a claim is reported in the claims management system, now your Charlie is giving you all these intelligent insights so you can get to early mitigation and early resolution of that claim. And that's going to be a win-win. And that's what we're seeing our customers do. Within 4 to 5 months, we have seen customers, ROI study that customers have done, not we, but customers have done an incredible amount of ROI right there, millions of dollars of savings. And it's fascinating to see the success that's coming out, but it also takes a lot of discipline from the carrier's side to be able to kind of incorporate these insights into their workflows.
What else? I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking you can get so much information, but litigation is so important right now. You just kind of barely barely touched on it. Tell us a little more about the litigation and what you're doing to help identify pre-lit files.
I'll give you two numbers here, two stats. Litigation has gone up 47% in the last 5 years.
Litigation of what?
The claims litigation. Basically, you're in trial, you're in court. Litigation means you're in trial, you're in court. It doesn't, the attorney can be involved in the claim. That doesn't mean litigation. That just means the attorney is involved in the claim. You can have different multiple offers to them, settle it, without going to the court. That's just with the attorney. Litigation is when actually a summons and complaint has been filed in the court and you're actually in litigation. You could go to trial, you could settle out of court, whatever it is, but SNC, summons and complaint being filed, is the marker for litigation. So when I say litigation has gone up, that means, your claims are actually landing up in court. And typically, given the jury and everything, it's a hit or a miss whether you're going to actually get into a nuclear verdict or even beyond that, a thermonuclear verdict. Now, just kind of going back in time, it's like, okay, you have the litigation, but prior to the litigation, what happens? An attorney gets involved. What we have seen post-COVID is a 33% increase in attorneys getting involved in the first 1 month of the claim being filed, claim being reported. And they're also picking and getting more aggressive. And because of that, the claims adjusters, some untrained novice, new claims adjusters are just not asking the right questions and hurrying up to settle the claim. So both these things again go back to the intelligence that you can be trained on. If you know that this is the intelligence, if I tell you, hey, there is mental stress, anxiety, complaints of that. There is a pregnant woman in the accident. Did you ever ask her what happened? So things like that, that are indicators that, this is actually headed, in the wrong direction. There is a sliver window of time, and that's a very short window. If you don't ask the right questions and if you don't have the intelligence also to, when I say intelligence, I'm not talking about the human intelligence, like intelligent insights. When you don't know that, when you don't have the experience of a very experienced adjuster, when you don't have these things, then you're not asking the right questions, then you're waiting too long and you're letting, you're basically vulnerable at that time for any attorney involvement. And once the attorney gets involved, it's 8 times more expensive. And then you take it to the court. God only knows how much more expensive it can get. So to be able to kind of provide those markers, and I remember I told you we provide the prioritized lists. These prioritized lists are also prioritized based on no attorney involvement. So if I point out, hey, here is a bodily injury claim, or here is a physical damage claim, here are the indicators on it, and there's no attorney involved, it's only been a month or 3 months, resolve these claims faster. So close those claims and do not give an opportunity for an attorney to get involved or for an attorney to take it to the next level. And these are, again, going back to the training that a claims manager can provide. And how do they provide the training? By looking at your files.
So what is the lines of business that your product is being used mostly for? Is it a disability or bodily injury? Is that where it tends to fall mostly? Or is it in any line of business, property, auto, et cetera?
So it's pretty much all PNC lines, and more so whatever crosses, like bodily injury crosses several lines. You've got auto, you've got homeowners, you've got GL, you've got BOP. Mm-hmm. So pretty much anything that covers bodily injury and also physical damage portion of the lines of business. So both commercial and personal lines of PNC.
So Sri, what's the secret sauce here that you guys are doing. Tell us what's most important. Tell us the secret sauce.
The secret sauce is the carrier's claims operations team in how effectively they can utilize, the AI specific insights and not really worry so much about picking the right vendor, or you can experiment in small ways. You can experiment with vendors and bring the vendor that has the most pre-trained insights, because that's giving you a good world view of all the risk insights. And once you do that, the biggest secret sauce is in the implementation of workflows. I think that's really the key in how you can very quickly embed that and create new workflows. And I've also seen success in terms of having smaller goals and small wins. Measure yourself every 3 months, and this is kind of the secret sauce of our customers who have gotten, like, single to multiple digit ROI success factors.
That's wonderful. I mean, you have a really cool product, and Rob and I are property casualty people. Like, we are in the claims, and I'm just thinking of a million ways to use this data. Who are your customers today? Is it insurance companies or is it claims departments? Who are your
It's
customers?
insurance companies mainly.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
We also have an MGA. We've tried working with TPAs. I think, it's the TPAs need to come up with, a good solid ROI, I guess. And I think the biggest ROI is the expenses. You don't need to spend like 10 hours on a claim. If you have, all these insights, spend 4 hours on this claim and move on to the next one. I think
Agreed.
that's kind of where the metric, the ROI metric, is probably a little different, not too different, a little different in terms of mitigating, avoiding litigation, avoiding, the attorney involvement and expenses, reducing expenses. The biggest thing is, which I forgot to mention, is the reserves. We haven't even talked about reserving. This is one of the hidden benefits. This is what one of the customers told me. It's like the
Sure.
hidden benefits of Charlie is to get to those accurate reserving.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Because,
You got to give us a little bit on that. You got to tell us.
You're identifying the problematic claims very early. That might look like they only need a small or whatever size reserve, but they may need a much larger one based on the attributes of the claim. Right.
Correct.
And I could totally see that. And that's probably a wonderful use for your product.
Well, it's both. It's under reserving and over reserving also.
Sure. Correct.
So
Yes.
here we are providing you factors. So a couple of companies I've heard, Geico and Progressive, do what is called factorial reserving. And this is like, you're doing a blanket factor reserving. And look at if you just think about the factorial reserving, what do these factors really denote? I mean, these factors are coming from your own claims risk indicators. And that's what Charlie picks and tells you. And so they have said that, because they're able to understand the severity indicators, that's really, again, focus on the facts of loss. If I'm able to point out all those severity facts of loss, here is a fracture, here is, the structural damage, here is a TBI, or, I'm pointing out all those risk factors, indicators to you. Now you're able to, adjust your reserves after the statistical reserve point is, already happened. And throughout the course of your claim adjudication, you can manage those reserves very effectively, impacting all the way to the IBNR.
Yeah, I think that is a great use for it.
Lee, is this something that you could use in your work?
100%.
Talk
100%.
about that. Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, I oversee a very large claims department here at Alacrity. I oversee our TPA department. And I'm just thinking of all of the ways to reduce touch points and to make claims handling easier and quicker. And if you can identify possible SIU, possible pre-lit, if you're able to identify the claims that need to be looked at quicker and first each day, but then at the reserves, under reserving is just as important as over reserving. I mean, there is so much here. I'm just thinking it's so important.
I'm smiling because we're actually just finishing up a POC. I'm not going to name the customer, but in the lot of the indicators that we have pointed out, we have seen alacrity everywhere.
Have you? Well, there you go. Well, then I look forward to talking to your team after this call. That's for sure.
Some interesting underwriting issues that we have been able to point out through the claims.
Wow. Well, there you go. You got to have the good data, right? You got to have the data.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we have found a way to eat up 45 minutes of your day, and thrilled to have you on. I mean, we didn't even get into, of course, probably the phrase of the year is AI, the phrase of 2023, and the buzz around it is remarkable. So to be working in that neighborhood, and like you said, you're not new to it. You've been doing this for years, and AI has been around for years as well. And I'm sure it's very exciting for you to see that the rest of the world is catching up with a place where you've been living for a long time.
And also coming up with fancy names for it. So
that's right.
Like Chat GPT.
Any GPTs.
Any GPT.
Yeah. Lots of acronyms, lots of initials in the AI world.
Well, when big data came, is the same feeling I had. It's like, wait a minute, insurance has always been big data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, it has.
No, the issue has been, and this is exactly what your whole company is based on this. How do you digest it?
Yeah.
How do you find it and digest it and make it actionable? I'm sure what you find is many times all the data that we need is there. It's just It's just getting it all to come together into clean insights. That's the hard part. Not does it exist?
Absolutely. And I think insurance industry is very risk averse. Every time they hear a new acronym, you suddenly pull back. But if you peel the layers and look at it, it's like, wait a minute, we have been doing this forever. I can tell you how many claims managers, who have spent decades adjudicating or adjusting claims, have been doing NLP forever. That's NLP. Because your brain does it, you don't really think about, the artificial aspect of translating that experiences and that memories, into somewhere else, into another brain. And really that's what it's trying to mimic. And it's not as effective as a human brain. The only part it shines is the automation and the volume in how it does. But it's all there. We've been doing it forever. We're going to be doing it forever. So I'm excited about the awareness that has happened through Chat GPT. I guess in that sense, I must thank them. Everybody knows AI now. Everybody.
Uh-huh.
Everyone's open to it now.
And excited about what it might be able to do for them.
Yep.
Well, you have a very exciting company. Thank you so much for being on.
Very exciting. And we're thrilled that you took the time to meet with us today. And we'll look forward to hearing more about Charlie as time goes on.
Well, it definitely rhymes with Lee.
That's right. That's right. It's meant to be.
Yeah, you might have to start sending him a check every month because of that. Careful.
Oh my God, it was only part of the name, so.
Well, he would only want part of. He only wants part of your revenue, so don't worry about it.
Oh my God! As customers, how about this? He gives me a check for Charlie for using Charlie, and I'll give him part of the check back.
There you go. We'll make something work out.
There you go. Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you both for having me. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Lee. Have a great day. Happy holidays.
You too.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
GPT, NLU, NLP. Oh my gosh.
There's a lot of acronyms out there.
There's a lot of them.
There's an industry that found more acronyms than insurance. Insurance uses a lot of acronyms.
Yep. And, all of the AI stuff, one thing I'll say is that as time goes by, more and more use cases are emerging.
Right.
And what influence it has in insurance 5 years from now, very, very interesting.
Yeah, I think this is a prime example of where it's going. I mean,
Yeah.
they're doing some amazing things, and the future's bright.
Okay. Well, as we come up, this is our last podcast of the year, even though you're hearing this next year. It's our last podcast. So let's say some thank yous. What do you say, Lee?
I think that'd be great. Can we thank Alicia and Al first?
We'll thank our producers, Alicia Moss and Aldrin Muya.
Thank you, Alicia and Al.
Who've been with us for years now, and without whose help, our podcast would sound like this. So it's a good thing that they're around.
That was funny, Rob.
Yeah, you're welcome. And who else? How about Jim Pearl, John Hall, and all the people at Alacrity?
Yeah, thank you, Alacrity. Thank you for the support, Alacrity. For the continued support from the 470 days to today.
Thanks for all your help. Who else we got out there?
Well, we ought to thank the listeners.
You think?
Well, without them, no one would listen to it. We would still talk, but no one would listen to it.
You go first.
I like to thank the listeners. I like to thank them all, everybody, for listening, and all of those who reach out to us at conferences and email and talk to us and encourage new guests and say, hey, you got to meet this person. We thank you all for taking the time to do that.
5 years, hundreds of episodes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you've listened to all of them, we love you even more. If you've listened to one of them, we love you too. So keep it up in the new year. We hope that you had wonderful holidays, and we'll see you on the next episode. So until then, we'll say
goodbye, everybody.